Recording start.
Oh, there we are. Recording start.
There we are.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to this week's edition of Mauls, Balls and All. It is indeed Thursday. It is indeed 8:30. And joining me this evening, we've no guests on this week. Well, we do have guests on, but we don't named guests on that you might know. That happens next week. But we do have familiar faces from the group. We have Mike Reedy. Wave, Mike. There you go. Thumbs up. And we have Dara Weston in his garage smoking his cigars. Does he have a cigar? No, he doesn't have a cigar. And we have Peter Martin also. What? Who's eating crisps? Peter Martin. You was okay. Gentlemen, I'm going to use my catchphrase. How the hell?
I love it. If it was me or Mike, you would have given out, but you're afraid to give out to Peter about eating crisps.
No. Jeez, no. I could. Not at all. Jesus, I wouldn't fear anything. Hold on. Here's Alan Dorman. Good evening, all. Hello, Alan Dorman. How are you, Bevan? Hello, lads. Hello, Bev. How are you? I hope you're well. Bev. Right, gentlemen. I was going to say my catchphrase. Are you all well in yourselves?
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Hunky dory.
All right, well done. Okay. Right, okay. Lads, Mike Reedy, I'll come to you first. We loads to talk about in rugby world, but one is Pete Wilkins has been absent from Connacht due to illness, so the scrum coach is taking over, Colm Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much about Colm Tucker. Mike, I genuinely don't. But he was. But Pete Wilkins was absent from. He was absent from the Ospreys game, and it looks like he's going to be absent now from the historic event, historic Interpro in McHale Park.
Yeah.
What do you make of all this? Is there anything? I know Dara Weston, you were telling me not to do stuff and all that sort of stuff, but we have to talk about it. Is there anything sinister? Is there anything going on with this, or what do we think?
I have absolutely no idea, so I'm not going to start rumors about something. I really don't.
No. Don't start a rumor. Don't start a rumor.
James Grennan might be the man now that might have with the inside knowledge there, but I certainly don't have any, and I wouldn't like to speculate even. I mean,
okay.
I heard he had a pain in his hip, and there was an El Codger over in Scotland, and he was able to get ahead of him in the queue. That's what I heard.
I'll tell you one thing: you want to see the influence I've had to use, by the way, to get ahead of people, and I have used it. I've used the politics, by the way, to get in. Not going to lie.
Sexual favors to everyone.
Yeah.
And if they didn't
where's Peter Martin gone? Oh, Peter Martin's gone. He's dropped out. He'll be back, I'm sure. Sonia Croak, how are you, Sonia?
Good evening, Sonia.
Hold on. Let's get Peter Martin back. Here he is. Okay. All right. Dara Weston, you're now. I don't know if you've heard of this Colm Tucker guy. Sorry, I'll rephrase it.
No.
I knew Colm Tucker existed. Put it that way.
I don't know about him either.
Scrum coach for Connacht. Now, it's a pity we don't have James Grennan on tonight. But Colm Tucker, I don't know. What do you think of the whole thing going on?
Look, I mean, I think we're Brent Pope here, and all this. I think we just need to be, if somebody's on sick leave, they're on sick leave. A doctor signed them off, whether he's overexerted himself in the bedroom, or he stubbed his big toe, or he's having some mental health problems. It's sick leave is sick leave. So we can't question is there anything more sinister or anything like that. Just wish him all the best and hope he gets back to Connacht as soon as he can.
Unless it's time.
And not to be diving off wardrobes anymore.
No, exactly. Yeah. Peter Martin, any thoughts on this? But I just wanted to bring it up, just because it's relevant. It's been in the news. That's why I just said I'd ask the question. Any thoughts, Pete, or anything? Or
well, he seems to have a very good pedigree as a coach. Be involved with Shannon, be involved with Munster. Look. As you said, James Grennan would be an ideal guy to have a kind of an inside line on what he is, but you can only take it that it was a solid decision made by the powers that be in Connacht that he's the guy to lead, from the front, from the coaching side. off the pitch at Connacht for until Wilkins is in better health.
All right. Okay, we leave that there. Now, the other big thing, the other big fucking story that kind of an awful lot of people had an opinion about this. An awful lot of people commented about this when it was put up in the group. Peter Martin, I'm going to ask you first about this. We go around the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Crowley. Apparently, the IRFU are confident in getting Crowley's signature. Right. Now, let me just read something, Pete, as you know.
His autograph.
No, hold on. Would you stop it for a second? Hold on. Where am I going? No, that's not the one I want. But Jack Crowley turned down, Pete, apparently a 700,000 euro a season contract with Leicester, so for 3 years. So that would have been 2.1 million, as we can all do the math. So, but the IRFU are confident that Jack Crowley will stay where he is because he wants to earn that 10 shirt. Now, my point is that let's just start with my initial point. Why would Crowley turn that down for about half the money, Pete, in your mind? Because he won't get that with the IRFU or Munster. What would you think?
I would say that there's a possibility that the IRFU are going to pay in public, whatever they're going to pay him. And there'll be wheeling and dealing in the background under the bonnet. We might see Crowley in a few months' time appearing in a few ads for certain products, hopefully not Triton Showers or Newbridge Silverware or something like that. But you get what I'm driving at. I would imagine somehow it'll be wrapped up saying on the surface of things, yeah, he's an employee of IRFU, and he's going to only earning X amount, whatever that may be, six-figure sum or maybe less. But when it's all wrapped up with all other bits and pieces and add-ons and yada 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 blah blah, I'd say there could be a kick in the arse between the final figure offered, the combination contract, if you want to call it that, all the bits and bobs and the add-ons, what he'd earn here versus what he'd earn that's supposedly, allegedly, with Leicester.
Well, yeah, okay. Dara Weston, your thoughts on this? I mean, excuse me. The idea, a few people have asked me, I'd say three have sent me a message asking, is Jack Crowley going to stay? And I says, well, I don't know. It depends how much money he wants or how much he values having a high pay package. But it looks like Jack Crowley's ambition supersedes money. What do you think, Darren?
I'm calling bullshit. I think this, and I said it before, I think this is like Rog going to the Miami Dolphins. I think this was a ploy by his agent to get a central contract or to get a better contract. Because obviously his contract, he's got a new provincial contract with Munster and also got a top up from the IRFU. Now, I think, there may have been an offer from Leicester Tigers to his agent. His agent may then have woken up and had a bowl of cornflakes and relayed this mystical dream that he had to Jack, or maybe one or two reporters. I don't know. I can't see why a young guy who is in strong contention for one of the key positions in the national squad would walk away from it, given that officially the unwritten rule from the IRFU is you can't be a 10 if you're playing abroad, unless you're Johnny Sexton and we've nobody else. But himself and Prendergast are so close together at this stage. When Sexton went to Paris, you had Ross Byrne on maybe 20 caps and Sexton was on 70 or 80 caps. Whereas, there's only maybe 10 or 15 caps between Crowley and Sam Prendergast, and both of them, I don't think Crowley has even reached 30 caps. So I think, was he going to go to Leicester for 3 years and hope then to be qualified to play for England and try and get a number 10 shirt there? Or was he going to come back and try and start competing from scratch again in Ireland? I mean, Peter Martin is better man to talk about than this, but for the 700 grand, he won't get 700 grand in Ireland, but he will get a lot more in terms of pension stuff that, the pensions are a lot better. He can throw away, he can put 100% of his money into a pension if he wants. Also, look, he wouldn't be the first Munster player who Uncle JP McManus has, given them something to do here. Take a few photos outside the Dare Manor. There's, envelope for you or something, allegedly. I don't know. So I just think it sounds like, the classic O'Gara was going to the Miami Dolphins to be the kicker. Next thing, the IRFU had to up the contract. I can't see the motivation for him to move. And ultimately, agents can't go around shopping their players who are under contract or in contract negotiations to other clubs in other countries without the player's permission. And because it gets into the press, and then that could have completely screwed up. Munster could have turned around to him and went, well, do you know what? If you want to go to Leicester, feck off then and go. So look, I think it was a bit of a choreographed dance, and got what it wanted. New contract from the IRFU. Who knows what else they'll have?
Well, he hasn't got it yet, Darry. He hasn't got it yet. So,
I read something earlier that said they were preparing a new contract for him with a top up from the IRFU, and there was talk of a third collection at Mass as well. So.
All right. Okay. Very good. Okay. Mike Reedy, your thoughts on this? Jack Crowley. Is it what kind of Peter was alluded to, and Dara, as he always does, directly said it. It was an agent playing his hand.
I would say, however, that probably more than likely was an offer, because Leicester have never come out and categorically said no, we never made an offer. So I'd say there was probably something bandied about, and whether it was ever serious or not, who knows. Bottom line is, I hope he stays, lads. I hope he stays for Ireland's sake as well as Munster's. I think Jack is a fine player, and I think it'd be a shame to lose him somewhere else. And you were saying about 3 years. It actually takes 5 years now. You have to live in another country for 5 years now before you qualify to play for him. So that's a long way away.
And what are you talking about with the 3 and 5 years things? That's a non. What do you
if you want to play for a different nation.
I said 3 years to qualify for England mistakenly because it was a 3-year contract with Lens.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Sorry, Mike. Sorry.
Correct me. You just go back to your colour and book there.
No, I don't want to see him go anywhere, and I genuinely don't think he will go anywhere, because I do think he has ambition to fight for the Ireland shirt, as well as obviously he's a Munster man, and Ben Healy wasn't jump ship, but Ben Healy had, to be fair, his mother is Scottish, so it was an easier decision for him to make to move over here.
I think Ben was a.
He wasn't even. But the thing about was, when he actually went, he had taken Carberry's shirt off for him at Munster. Like, he helped Munster win that URC title, even the final. He played, like, Joey Carberry couldn't get a game towards the end of that season, which was surprising. I mean, personally, I would have done the very opposite. I would have given Carberry the shirt, seeing as he was staying and Ben Healy was leaving. But I wouldn't like to see Joy or Jack Crowley go anywhere. I think Irish rugby needs to keep those kind of players.
Okay, and that leads me quite nicely on to Peter Martin. A question that was asked, which I don't agree with, but people are asking: should Jack Crowley and Sam Prendergast be given a central contract? I don't think they should. I think it's way too early. I think it's a year or two down the line, Pete. What do you think?
Yeah, I would be inclined to agree with you. And on top of that, it gives out the wrong signal to every other player who's been trying to get and who has earned through hard work a central contract. Like the IRFU only know themselves, what's involved in it. And obviously the coaches, the inner sanctum, Andy Farrell, you can be sure has a strong say in who gets a central contract, but there obviously has to be some sort of apprenticeship served. Now, people were bitching and moaning when Joe McCarthy was given the central contract, but like at the end of the day, okay, he's how many caps has McCarthy got? He hasn't got 30 anyway. He doesn't have 30 caps, I don't believe. And I think an awful lot of the ire was down to the fact that I think it was fresh in people's minds his bit of indiscipline against France, wasn't it? When he pulled the player, pulled was it Ramos back?
Yeah,
during the game during that moment. Look, I don't think no. That's my view anyway. I don't think it's the way to go. It sends out the wrong signal, and it basically it puts the IRFU in a weak position if they're seen to be giving out, I think, a central contract to two guys, albeit there's a reason. It's not a bullshit reason for doing something like that. It's just not the right reason.
Given the fact, Pete, that there is currently no 10 on a central contract,
I don't think it makes a difference. To be honest, like ultimately, you could turn around and there could be a conversation, part of the conversation with the two of them says, guys, at the end of this, the two of you are rattling out for this. At the end of there's a timeline or there's a target date, and there's one contract there. Maybe we don't know. Is it a good thing? Maybe we don't honestly don't know. But maybe that could be part of the whole. That could be part of the motivation for the two players, is not just to get the jersey, but to get the contract, because either one of them could get the jersey and not have a contract, but it could be a follow-on consequence.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about, Pete. I know. I agree with you. Yes, you're quite right. Dara Weston, central contracts for Sam and Jack. Would you agree with what I've said and Peter has agreed with me on that? Too early or whatever? Go on.
I'd agree with what Peter said, because he sounded cleverer when he said it than what you said originally.
Well, they're both called Peter. So.
I feel there's going to be a sting in the tail this, Darry. You're licking my arse.
So do I. I agree with Mr. Mark.
I think there is an element of having to. They don't have enough caps to warrant a central contract. A central contract is a player who is absolutely key to the functioning of the team. Yes, we don't have a 10 on a central contract at the moment, but we haven't. We still have a couple of 10s, and we haven't really figured out who we're using and blah blah blah. And we're still living in the post-Sexton era, which was there a lack of forward planning by the IRFU? Maybe not dropping him off a central contract in his last year and trying to bring somebody else in like they did with O'Mahony. So, yeah, look. I think it's you can't just give one to everybody in the audience, and if it gets to the stage, then you'll just have players demanding it. It'd be like if somebody who commented on the show came to you and said, "I want to be an admin of the group, or I'm leaving." That's the kind of, just because somebody's been in talks with somebody doesn't mean they should get a central contract, and doesn't mean whoever's competing against them should also get a central contract for that shirt.
All right.
So
good point.
I think there should be like a Mad Max Thunderdome style competition, 2 man in, 1 man out. Whoever survives gets the central contract.
All right, okay.
With no Tina Turner.
No, unfortunately we've lost Tina, and no serious injuries either. No hitting below the waist. No touching the legs.
Just play me ball
Some
here while the two of you have your own conversation.
Yeah, I know. What's going on?
Anyway, what? Mike Reedy.
Central contracts.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Mike,
agree
you
with
all
that.
right?
Sorry.
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
No, go on. Go on.
I think it's a bit early as well. However, I would say that when it does possibly coming around to maybe giving him, that it might be prudent to actually promote both of them at the same time. If that's how it turns out to be the case over the next couple of years or a year or a couple of years. I mean, a year's time, the whole picture could have changed, for one or both. And somebody else might be added to the equation. I mean, young Jack Murphy up in Ulster at the moment looks to be getting the starts now, and he could turn out. He looked really good in the 20s, for Ireland.
Or Charlie Tector, Mike. Charlie Tector just signed a recent senior contract.
He's another bit of a. I mean, Frawley is another Christ, the kind almost forgotten man, which is tragic in a way, because he's a very able player in whatever position he has filled in, and I think 10 would be his preferred choice.
But I get the impression Frawley's also being groomed as a Hugo Keenan kind of replacement, also because he can play full back also. So
he is, but how about Osborne? Like Osborne has been absolutely outstanding when he's played at full back. But
Tommy O'Brien can.
And Tommy O'Brien is a winger as well. There's options.
I know, but he can play. He can play full back though. That's the thing, Mike.
I actually think Ireland need to do what. And God Almighty, for me to actually admit this, by the way, now is something is a massive thing.
Don't mention Saffels.
Hybrid players seem to be the future. France have gone with the 7-1 option, during the course of the Six Nations. So hybrid players are going to be the answer. Backs that can play in the forwards and vice versa. I mean, Dan Sheehan could play as a centre, no question about it for me.
No, stop.
He could though.
That's just fucking ridiculous. No, you can't look at Dan Sheehan.
He could though if he was required to play.
He could. Mike, no, stop. Seriously, stop. Dan Sheehan could not play centre. He could not play 12 or 13. So just that's nonsense.
He could fill in there, by the way. You could get that's what. But that seems to be what the future is going to be. Do you know? Consider I'm an old fecker, and I go back to
we are all well aware of that.
Right. Well, my memory goes back to different type of rugby, like mainly
yesterday.
10 minutes ago.
No, well, just about. But so the rugby has changed. The whole game has changed massively.
Try was 4 points.
That's it. The wingers used to take the throw-ins.
Well, no, I know that. No, that was that.
Hookers used to actually have to hook the ball with their feet.
And you're only allowed throw in. You're only allowed throw in with one hand in the line-out. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, but you didn't want. There was no lifting in the line out and any of that nonsense. You lifted yourself however way you could get up in the air. But anyway, we're getting away off the point here now. You're the one that talks to me about
tangents. Yeah. Yes.
What was I even talking about?
I have no idea what the fuck you were talking about. Go on.
You were talking about French hybrid players.
Yeah, well, that's the way that could possibly be the future, lads, for squads. Rugby squads,
I tell you why I don't like that idea, Mike and Pete and Darren.
I don't particularly like it either, but it could be a possibility.
No, I know what you're saying. The problem with that is that my personal view is that if you're a hybrid player, you fall into the Frawley category.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
I know what you mean. Just let me make my point. So, if you're doing that, then you're always going to be a bit player.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have a dedicated number on your back, like for argument's sake, Brian O'Driscoll, always a 13. Johnny Sexton, always a 10. Rob Kearney, always a 15. Right? That's what I like in a player. So you always know where they're going to play. If you have I know if you're doing a 5-3 split on the bench, you're going to have a utility player that covers 12, 13, and 15, right? Mostly that's what you have. But it's not always beneficial for the player, him or herself, to be that bit player, because it kind of, it might kill your confidence, it might kill your whatever it may be. But if you concentrate your skills on one position with the players I've just mentioned, then you might get. I think that's better for a player. Peter Martin, what do you think?
Well, I was just about to cut across you and say that if you have a player who's playing in multiple positions and isn't specialising, they're jack of all trades and master of none. I suppose, and again, I'm going to probably go off on a tangent here, so bear with me. But there was I saw something on LinkedIn. I'd have to start scrolling to see who it was, and basically, and this will be something for next week. I'm going to ask Mr. Ross. Oh,
yeah.
When he comes on, just basically the whole premise about props, right? And I've had a few conversations with people close to me who are also big rugby people as well, and they are of the view that props are born, not made, because at the moment, and this is a trend that we've seen, and I know because there's a particular player in my own club who came up through the ranks. Played representative rugby, underage rugby for Leinster. When he got to AIL senior level, they decided to make him into a tight head prop. Now he's back with our senior team, and he's playing number 8 in his own position. I suppose what it means really is that, and this is a trend that Leinster have gone through and other clubs, and I think it's an international thing, where you're getting guys who will say, if there's a plethora of players who will say are maybe 6'2", 6'3", and 17, 18 stone, and they rock up to a trial to a bigger setup, haven't come up the ranks or whatever, have a bit of a career, a bit of a CV, underage representative, whatever, blah blah blah, and they're trying to make it the big time. And I think what happens is that the club will say, and just to take the back row position, I will say they've picked 2 or 3 number 8s that they want for their squad, but there's another 2 or 3 players there that said, Jesus, don't want to let them go, but they realise that, hang on, what can we do with these guys? But we're a bit short in the front row. And, there could be a conversation had, or a few conversations had with a scrum coach and so on. And, then they might decide, well, these 2 or 3 other guys who are on trial aren't as quick, just aren't quite as good as the other 3 number 8s. So it's then the decision, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to make them into props. That's what we're going to do. And I think something like that has happened with Ollie Jaeger, who's down in Munster.
Yeah.
I stand to be corrected. I'm pretty certain Ollie Jaeger was a number 8, or played a lot of schools rugby at number 8, because he's a big guy. Obviously has good hands, but it was just doesn't have it for the very top level as number 8. But someone had a word in his ear and said, "Look, do you know what? There's a future for you in the game, but you're not going to be an 8. You'll be potentially in the front row." And obviously, say, well, rather than saying, "Oh well, sod this, I'm going to turn this down," going, "Yeah, no, let's do this. Let's have a go. Let's try and let's see if I can fit in this new position as a tight head or a loose head." And look, it's one of these things, like, and I'll pivot back around to what the whole hybrid player is, that I don't think you could have a player on the bench who can play prop and play wing. Let's call a spade a spade. Let's be fair, about hybrid. There are certain players who can play, and I see this as an underage coach, coming up, you have guys who end up in the center, if they're not, shall we say, already fit for centre, they could be just basically slightly slower back row players, or back row, or even you could have centres who are starting to, play who've been playing the whole way up as centre, and as they're getting bigger, they're getting stronger, they're going to the gym, they're developing themselves physically and all this, and all of a sudden they're starting to get passed out by other competitors in their position, and it's like coach comes over, has a word, says, you know what, we might try you at number 8.
But you know what, Pete, though, that you could say the same, that was probably said to CJ Stander in Munster.
It was said to him in South Africa, anyway.
It was said to him in South Africa.
No, it was said, sorry, in South Africa.
They wanted CJ, and I stand to be corrected again. They wanted him to play hooker because he was too small.
He did. You're right. You're quite right.
But I do think, look, in South Africa, they just do things like guys who are basically 6'5" and 18 stone are walking down the street every fucking day of the week in the cities and stuff. Like we know they're all descended from the Boers, the Dutch, the tallest race in Europe. So they're all fucking giants down there. They're all big men. They're all naturally massive. So it's tomato moving them within, from one position to another. Like I don't think it's quite the same kind of thing. Like, I don't think they have that issue in South Africa. They basically pick, they do it differently is what I'm trying to say. But I'm from my own experience and listen to people, this seems to be a thing, but just, and as I said already, it'll be a conversation. It's a question I'm going to ask Mike Ross, because, how many props at international level were basically, shall we say, out of the nappies props?
None, Pete. I'd say no. I'd say none.
I'd say our own Tyke Furlong most definitely was
okay. Well,
anywhere else. There's a handful around the world who never played anywhere else, I believe, as prop, other than prop. I don't believe the manufactured props, the guys who are converted back rows, are killing it. Now, I stand to be corrected, but I would just love to.
Who was the South African that played in the World Cup, this World Cup, and he covered both front and back row for South Africa?
You're talking about Fourie. Was it Dion Fourie?
Dupree. That's the.
He was open.
Yes,
so he was
that's
a flanker. He was a flanker who played.
Prop
hooker,
as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Darragh Weston, your thoughts on this? The dedicated position player or the utility player? What do you think about the conversation that we had so far?
Yeah, so there's two things. I would agree with Peter that I think props. It's very hard to make a prop. It's from another position, be it in the forwards, but there's no way you can make it back into a prop. I mean, it's just you can't fit that amount of cunning into such a small brain. But slightly off topic on this, but interestingly enough, I went to see Nigel Owens, an audience with Nigel Owens on Tuesday, and it was brilliant. And one of the things,
did you tell us that in the chat group? You never mentioned that.
How come we never knew about that?
In the chat, I didn't post it in the forum. I didn't do a Claire and tell everybody but no, somebody asked one of the questions about one of the rules he'd like to see changed, and he said, "Look, he said, I think, to be honest, the whole kind of 8 lads on the bench, substitutions whenever you want, tactical substitutions. He said, I wouldn't quite go all the way back to, substitutions based on injury. But he said, there's a reason why countries like South Africa have guys that are, say, 130 kilos who can only play 60 minutes. And they'd need to be 110 kilos if they had to play 80 minutes. Because they can beef them up because they know that they have these tactical substitutions that can come on whenever they want. So, I mean, that's kind of a similar part, having the players who can play in multiple positions as well. But look, ultimately, any player will go where he's getting the game time. He's going to get the game time. So it's very hard for a player to say to his coach, if his coach, if he's backup number 8 and his coach says, look, we could do with somebody in the front row. Would you not give it a go? Instead of sticking your head between 2 lads' arses, stick between 2 other lads' heads. And he'd go, oh, okay, yeah. You know,
I know, but Dara, would you agree with the premise that players need to be dedicated to a certain position and not the utility idea?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yes, I do think they should be, but from the player's point of view, you want to be getting game time. So if the player is offered, you know, look, will you go from a 15 to a 13, or will you go from a 7 to a 5? If it's the option of sitting on the bench or actually being on the pitch, I think, if the management put it to the player will 9 times out of 10 choose to try the other position. Sure, Gatland played O'Driscoll as a fullback on one of the Lions tours.
That was
I
actually
know,
Graham
but
Henry.
it was
Graham Henry. Sorry, I knew it was
Henry,
one of the Southern Hemisphere regions.
But Dara and everyone,
Yeah.
Would a player not get more game time if this is the constant argument I keep saying to people? Would they not get more game time if they were a specialist in their position? So if you were a specialist 15, sorry, go on there.
But if you're not a specialist, if you're unlucky enough not to be a specialist in a position, you change and you adapt to other positions to get game time. So Hugo Keenan's never going to have to move around, but other players are going to have to be capable of filling in for Hugo, or going on the wing, or going in the center, or kicking like Frawley. So that's the kind of thing, is that yes, there are lucky players who come along and they're kind of generational players, like O'Driscoll, who is always and forever at 13, Parise, who was always and forever an 8, these type of players. But if you're not one of them, you have to move around to get the game time.
Yeah.
Okay. And ultimately, if you're playing professional, to get paid, to keep a job. It's no different than kind of getting a promotion or a transfer in work. If you're in the Leinster Academy, you're offered up to the senior squad, but you're not going to be scrum half anymore. You're actually going to be, kicker or whatever.
And you get your free house and your free car and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
No, I know. I know.
Players, yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Only the 2 former Leinster players, though.
Well, that's true. Mike Reedy, your thoughts on what we have, myself, Pete, and Dara have just been chatting about. Do you think the dedicated player is something that should be promoted, or is it something of the past?
Probably not now, Peter, because of what the lads have just said. I mean, Frawley is the perfect example. The boy wants to play rugby. He's not going to get in right now as a 10 for Ireland with Prendergast and Crowley ahead of him, unless there's a major change. So he's going to play. He's wanting to play anywhere they give him a position, and I think good on him. I don't care where he plays. I like the boy. I think he's a very good player, but so he'll take whatever position he's given. Young Tector is in the same situation. He's been tried out as a 12 and doing okay, doing reasonable enough with Leinster.
And he should stick with that, Mike. This is my thing. If Tector is a good, he's a great 12, and he should stay with that.
Yeah, but if you look at the likes of Andrew or Jamie Osborne, he is an outstanding full back, but Hugo Keenan is ahead of him. So in order for him to get a game for even for Leinster, he'll have to be adopted to play elsewhere, because he's not going to get in ahead right now.
Okay, so if you're talking about Leinster, so if Leo goes for a 5-3 bench, you would then have that option.
Yeah, you would have. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah, but that's him as a utility player to play anywhere, which is great. I don't. No,
sorry, go on.
That's he has a better chance of getting a game, Peter, if he has versatility, because he's not. Be honest, he's not getting a game ahead of Hugo Keenan yet. It may very well transpire that could change. However, right now Hugo Keenan is the best fullback probably in the world when he's on his game, and
maybe yes.
Jamie Osborne will have to play wherever he's given a game. Now, as regards front row, I do think props are born by and large, because they don't. The first ruling of the multiple substitutions were, but the only actual stringent requirement is that you have 3 replacement front row players. So that tells you all you need to know. That versatile players are not really suited. However, players, each substitute or each position on the pitch is allocated an alternative, like Keane Healy was in that day in Murrayfield when he had to go in as a hooker. He was either side prop or hooker, like he was
that was kind of exceptional, though, Mike.
It was, yeah, but those exceptional circumstances do occur in and it's only front row players that are required to do this because of the obvious dangers in the front row. So I would say, lads, you know something, any one of us would say, I'll play wherever you want me to play because I want to fucking play. It's more important that I play somewhere than not play in my preferred position. So, you know, you'll do what you need to do to gain a position on the park, I would say.
That is a very fair comment, and these are all ambitious players, and they want to wear the jersey for province or for country. Yeah, my only argument was that it would be preferential to have.
Oh, absolutely, you know, if you had, but see the current situation with Leinster, in particular, they have got players like coming through the academy like a fucking conveyor belt. So these players need to get game time playing somewhere. So they're probably coming through thinking, I'll play anywhere. Give me a game anywhere. That's they must be thinking that.
I know, but that doesn't make it right.
I know it doesn't, Peter. But you know, it's all if you were in a situation like probably any of the rest of the provinces where they don't have a lot of players for each position, then you will have a more dedicated position within the squad. However, if you're at Leinster, you'll probably take what you get unless you want to move somewhere else.
Well, look, if you're a back rower in Leinster, you're fairly goosed if you're not getting first team game time because they're just producing back row players from 4 to 8, you know, ad nauseum. Anyway, gentlemen, we should move on.
In an ideal world, we'd like to be sponsored by Heineken, but it's more likely we'll get offered to be sponsored by Turkish Cauliflower Ear Clinic.com or something like that. You know, one interesting thing when Mike was talking about the front row, I didn't realize this, and I don't know if you lads realized it. So the not feeding the ball straight into the front of the scrum to the hooker, that law has never actually been repealed or changed. It's just not enforced anymore.
It's just not applied.
Basically, over the years, it's just been less and less enforced, and they've been told, no, you can get away with passing it straight to the second rows and whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I was amazed at that. I thought they'd actually gotten rid of the law.
No, I read that. Sorry, now, Pete, I'm going to come to you now for the next point, but just a few comments here coming in. Gregor Galway, Bevar Marie just said there, Cully is okay, but a bit disruptive, especially in the biggest game of this season, which is the Interpro. Yes, very good. Thanks, Bev. Gregor Galway, apparently Tigers want your favourite Safa of Libbok. Yeah, thanks, Gregor, for reminding me. I said about being a ruse to get Munster to sign him again on the sports. We're going back to what we were talking about there a few minutes ago, Sports Show, and I got told about Troy. So what's it got to do with you? You don't even live here. All right, that's
shocking, Bevan. It doesn't matter where you live. You're Irish, you know. So yeah.
I shall not go into that. Neil McKeown, how are you, Neil? A good poster in the group. Tucker apparently, excuse me, staying at Connacht now, linked with Munster, who are now after Alex Codling, who was at Munster for a short term and now working with Ireland, the Irish women's side. Sorry, Pete, were you going to say something about that?
No.
No, oh, sorry, I thought you were going to. Sonia Croak, hi Sonia, as always, good to have you with us, as indeed Neil and Bev. Think Jack has the best agent in rugby at the moment. Clever guy creating this complete sham. Ooh, Sonia, get in there. Una McGowan. Evening all. Sorry, maybe I'm skeptical, but don't believe the 700,000 offer. This is his agent. We're trying to negotiate a CC. Now, Una, no, we don't.
I mean, the 700 grand, we never knew it was an offer. It was just basically what Pollard was being paid previously.
Yeah.
By Leicester.
Yes.
So it was very convenient that they'd offer a seasoned international kicker with a massive track record and a younger international kicker with less of a track record, the exact same amount.
There you go. Okay, thanks, Dara. Una McGowan. Yep, it wouldn't go for Rog. We'll go to Leicester. Joe Lyons. Hi, Joe. It's the way the game is going. Players have media rights and management looking after them. And now just look at Marcus Smith. This is how it's going to be. Marcus Smith, what is he doing? Doing hair products or something?
It was on the Six Nations thing on Netflix. Marcus Smith is managed by Jay-Z's company, Rock.
Oh, for Christ's sake, yeah. Rock Nation.
Yeah, and he wears like Rihanna's clothes and all this kind of crap.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Jenny Ainger, good evening, Jenny. And let me see, Jenny Ainger. Good evening, lads. Connacht supporter here. Good evening.
Evening, Jenny.
Evening, Jenny. How are you?
Nothing to Jack.
Yeah, okay. Say nothing, please. Say nothing. Luke Conway. Good evening, lads. Leinster fan here. Hi, Luke. Joe Lyons. Think you need to lock them down. Look at England, and 3 of their CC players are 10s. Look, it's all right.
We're not England.
We're not England. Exactly, Pete. Yeah.
Started the central contracts in the last year or 18 months since they got the Allianz money for Twickers.
Well, that's a 10-year deal, isn't it? That's a 10-year naming rights deal.
But I mean, they've only started. They're only new to the central contract game.
Yeah, but then and then your man Bill Sweeney, the head honcho in the RFU, Bill Sweeney, is the as I said in a post, he is a disgrace to the RFU. He is the Donald Trump of English rugby. It's nothing Bill Sweeney. Hold on. Nothing Bill Sweeney does. Hold on, Mike. Nothing Bill Sweeney does is for the benefit of the fans or the supporters. Right? Everything he does is for his benefit. That's why I call him the Donald Trump of English rugby. He's an absolute disgrace. Bill Sweeney should not be in that position.
So can we agree that all Bills who are in senior positions in rugby are wankers? Because we've Billy Beaumont as well.
Bill Beaumont as well, yeah. And come here, the lads on the good, the bad, and the rugby, the lads, the English Tyndall and they said they had him on and they grilled him and they said similar to what I've just said. All right, so I'm not speaking out of turn here on that.
Okay, good.
Bill Sweeney is a disgrace to English rugby. Joe Lyons, you're missing a massive point, and that is 10s no different to props are a massive demand. And when you have teams in a profession area looking at results, they will offer the money and players are after all professions. So shelf life, yes, okay.
Actually, I want to answer Joe's point.
Go on.
There was a published list of positions of importance in the top 14. Okay.
I saw. Go on.
You know what I'm on about?
Yeah, go on.
And guess what position got the highest paid in France?
Number 8.
Drum roll. Tight head prop.
Jesus.
We need Antonio. He's a big man. He takes a lot of feeding. He needs a lot of dough.
All right. Okay. Bev and Jack's only getting the stars because Daddy is the boss. James Humphreys is a better player than Jack. Oh. Okay. I presume you're talking about Ulster there, Bev. Yeah. Yeah. She is.
Young Humps.
I'll take her word for that, but he needs to have ability in fairness as well.
He does. Alan Dorman, our old pal, Alan Dorman, how are you? John Hayes started in the second row, and of course, John Hayes, as we all know, ended up as prop.
Mm-hmm.
For about 3 days.
Catherine Keegan, evening all. James Grennan, our colleague and pal, James Grennan, evening chaps.
Good evening, James Grennan.
You are someone agreeing with you, I think. Who was talking about the freed? Was that you, Dara?
Yes.
You're right. The scrum law still exists today from Alan Dorman. Johan, and we quickly, because we're going to run out of time, Johan, Leicester are in for Owen Farrell, I heard. Okay.
Be surprised if he goes back to the Premiership.
I would actually. I'd be very surprised. Who's your favourite rugby pundit?
Edmund Van Esbeck.
I've heard Anscombe is going to Leicester.
You never know. Who's this now? Jenny. Bev, settle down now. All right, Jenny. Jenny Ainge, you're on Bev. We let you do that now. Okay.
We don't hold the whistle, so settle.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Okay, all right, hold on. Now, gentlemen, Pete, coming to you first. Yeah. It has to be mentioned. Aoife Wafer got player of the round for the women's Six Nations. Pete, just one or two. She is some fucking player, Aoife Wafer. I watched that game, and Jesus Christ almighty.
Yeah, she is a wrecking ball in hand. Absolute.
Unstoppable.
Yeah, she's a hell of a player. Like, she's kind of like Caelan, to my mind, she's kind of like Caelan Doris with a bit of Joe McCarthy. Like, just, Skittles players. Like, she's a real power player. She's good to my mind. She has a bit of a turn of pace as well. She's
just. I just think like she is a 2 or 3 tackle woman.
Yeah.
When she's running at you, it takes 2 or 3 opposition players to take her down, which is great for an attacking play. If you're doing off a driving maul, line out driving maul, and she is just. I just think she's brilliant. Dara Weston, Aoife Wafer, a couple of words. Just she's just worth recognizing because
generational talent, amazing, and let's hope she stays injury free.
Okay, very good. Mike Reedy, your thoughts on Aoife Wafer? Brilliant.
My thoughts on Aoife Wafer. I think Aoife Wafer is going to go on to be the greatest women's player in rugby. That's how good I think she is. I think she is an absolute phenomenon. I genuinely have not seen anybody. She's only 21 years of age. I've never seen any player that age make such an impact in such a short space of time. Last year she was in the team. She was in the team of the Six Nations. Now for any Irish player to get into, she's going to be player of the tournament without a doubt. Right, I'll say that now. I'll put my hands up and say she's going to be player of the tournament.
Okay. There's someone, Gregor. Gregor, how are you? Be interesting to hear Mike Ross when he comes on. Ireland props upcoming. That's what you were talking about there, Pete. Mike Ross, folks, hopefully will be on next week. He couldn't come on tonight, but we have him lined up for next week. So stay tuned.
And I'm going to miss it. Shucks.
Oh, you are? Yeah.
I'm turning into $6 million man next Wednesday. So
okay, you don't need to.
You'll be moving as quick as him as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Okay. Now, gentlemen, we touched on this last week about this captaincy, but a new kind of angle kind of popped up. Mike, I'm going to ask you first. We go around this way. The Lions coaching staff was announced, Mike, and it's predominantly Irish. Now you can look at it, you can see it. It's Irish related, not obviously Irish born, but they're Irish related.
What's it? 3
so
out of 6
you had
Irish coaches. Is there?
No, hold on one sec. We had Andy Farrell, head coach. Wigglesworth, English, Easterby, Ireland.
English, Welsh, Ireland.
Goodman, Ireland, Dan Zeal, Scotland, and Fogarty, Ireland. So it's predominantly Irish-based, not born-based coaching staff. Now, my question, Mike, would be, would that then lend itself to Farrell saying, well, hold on, or the Lions management, wherever these decisions are made, to say, well, hold on, we have 12 or 13 Irish lads on the team. We have 3 or 4 out of the 5, the 6 or whatever it is, on the coaching team are Irish. Maybe we should give the captaincy to Itoje just to appease the English media. Would that be something you could see happening, Mike? Because I tell you, it's something I could see happening.
No. In one
All
word,
right.
no. I'll tell you because I think Andy Farrell to pick Caelan Doris like as his Ireland head captain and not pick him as a Lions captain, how does he come back, bring that boy back to Ireland? And after he hasn't shot on him as such, but he's so Andy Farrell loves Ireland. His son is probably going to end up playing his rugby in Ireland, not Owen, obviously, the other one, younger boy. And I think Andy Farrell will probably continue to live in Ireland, even if he's not. And he likes that job. He likes that job. He won't take the England job because they shat on him basically after 2015. So I don't think he's interested right now to go back there. So I think he'll pick Caelan Doris or another. Maybe he could throw in a curveball. Maybe somebody like Dan Sheehan. Why was Dan Sheehan all of a sudden thrown into the Ireland captaincy role?
I don't think.
I don't know. Listen, he's going to be thinking along the lines of somebody that's going to play every game. Dan Sheehan is going, if fit, will start every soccer for the Lions.
Shut up! Would you shut up with your Finn?
Yeah,
Russell
Finn Russell.
No, shut up! No, fuck off, the lot of you. Shut up!
Stop swearing.
No.
I'm the only one in here who's allowed to swear.
You'll be demonetized on YouTube for that kind of language.
So why are we monetized on YouTube?
Oh, listen,
by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, I meant to say it actually, Jason. If you're watching on YouTube, just hit the like and subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything, just increases the algorithm on YouTube. That's all. Dara Wesson,
funny how you say that after saying fuck off.
I know, yeah. I know. I don't, look, you know me, I'm techno. I don't. Come on, Dara Wesson, your thoughts on this?
It never stopped Warren Gatland picking a nearly entirely Welsh coaching squad and Welsh captains. So I mean,
true. Yeah.
I mean, again, I'll go back to this question was asked to Nigel Owens, and one of the things he said was, look, he said, Itoje does tend to attract more penalties, but he has more experience as a captain than maybe Doris has. And Doris does seem to have an issue with getting refs to listen to him. Itoje tends to be quite good at going, ref, and getting in the ref's ear and all that. But ultimately, he thought it was going to be Doris. Now, whether he was just saying that because he was in Ireland doing the show. Yeah. But certainly, I think, just the whole stamp on Hansen thing, I think that would have sullied Itoje's chances, I think, because at the end, you're trying to get 4 nations together as a team.
Did it against an Irish player.
Something like that, that kind of a niggle is going to carry on to the training ground and follow. So, look, I think it's, I think Andy shouldn't let it worry him because it never worried Warren. He just picked every Welsh person he could. And the British
he brought guys
anyway. So.
Sorry, go on, Mike. What were you going to say?
Two Welsh players that were on holiday in Australia, I think, or was it wherever they were on holiday. They ended up getting Brian.
Oh yes, that's right.
He wouldn't bring over specialist players. He brought these guys that nobody's ever fucking heard of.
Okay, go on, Peter Martin. Your thoughts on this? The captaincy and what have asked the lads? Go
on. I just echo what Dara had said. Like, I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters a damn. Just on the whole backroom staff, you're forgetting as well that he's also bringing Nusifora, who's ex-IRFU, and he's also bringing along Vinnie Hammond, who is the analyst. So it has very much, there's a massive IRFU influence within the Lions coaching squad. I was just a bit surprised with John Dalziel, or DL, whatever is the way you pronounce it, as a Scottish coach. Look, the Scottish pack is, I suppose, look, at the end of the day, you're working with the best of what you have. But obviously, Farrell, I've never heard his name being mentioned, like, kind of in various different chat rooms saying, that players are talking about Dalziel as being, Jesus, he's a great bloody coach. He's very good at getting guys,
Never fucking heard of him, Peter. Never
really heard. So there's obviously something there, or else maybe it's purely political.
I've never heard of him.
Well, that says it all.
Well, there you go.
I think, Mike, you're a bit going a bit bothered anyway, so it might be.
Well, there is that. I suppose there is that
as well. But no, look, I look, Farrell obviously knows, has an eye for, I think the way it is, it's an element of can I get a group of lads that I can decide, right, we need to have a meeting, and they'll all just go and have a meeting, and they'll all drink a pint of Guinness, and they'll all be on the same wavelength, and blah blah blah. There's an element of that. It's not necessarily getting the best forwards coach in Scotland, the best backs coach in England, and the best whatever, because as coaches, not only do they have to relate to the players and get on to players, but they have to get on well with each other as well. There has to be there has to be camaraderie. There has to be chemistry, because it could very well be the case that the best backs coach in England is probably not going on the line tour, but he could be a prick, and that's no good.
True.
So,
I'd imagine. Just sorry to interrupt, Peter. I'd imagine the unions have to release them as well.
Well, you saw what Bartek was only too delighted to give all his staff to the Lions, because he was massive advocate, saying it was the best experience of his coaching life, blah blah blah. So he wasn't going to stand in anyone's way.
Well, sure, listen, could you imagine
the winning coaching setup? Probably.
Could you imagine if all of us went on tour? Could you imagine if all of us went on tour?
One day,
live shows,
wild balls and all
doing live shows, and someone said,
"I could visualize that."
No, but you've got to get on, as Pete was saying. If someone says, he's a prick, she's a prick,
we've discussed this actually in another facet.
We have. Now, hold on. Before we go on to win, lose, or draw, Kieran Ryan. Good evening, Kieran. Evening, everyone. All talk.
Kieran.
A few weeks about Jack leaving. The story today is he's staying. Yes. Excuse me. Cut Macmillan. Have had a chat to Jack about his vision for the next few years with Munster, and Jack being a
possibly.
Absolutely. Kieran. Absolutely. Sonia Crow, captaincy should be awarded on merit. Therefore, Caelan is the captain. You see, there's a bit of politics as well, Sonia. This is the whole thing as well. Politics plays a big deal. Joe Lyons, what could be done is Jamie George as the squad captain and Dart. Joe, go away.
No.
Just
no ceremonial captains, Joe.
This co-captaincy thing is
look, the way it is, there'll be a leadership group, and George will be in it, Toja will be in it, Doris will be in it, and maybe one or two others. Probably Finn Russell will definitely be in it, Peter.
Okay, Grant, fine. Thanks. And we're fading to black. Okay. Now, on this particular point,
Jenny, another F word there, but anyway.
Shut up with it. No, I'm not. Excuse me. Jenny Ainger, are you happy with Paulie leading the summer tour? Yes, no problem with that. And Johnny Sexton. Gentlemen, before we go on to our win, lose, or draw, Mike, hold on. Peter Martin, are you happy with Paulie leading the summer tours? Jenny Ainger has asked. I problem with that. And Johnny Sexton?
Continuity, all that.
Yeah. Dara, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it'll be a test for him, because there had been questions, about the lineouts, etc. So, look, it'll be a good experience for him. Obviously, none to his face. People just questioned it behind his back.
Of course.
Nobody's going to say it directly to him.
Yeah, Paulie, you're doing a great job.
Keyboard warriors.
Of course. Mike Reedy, your thoughts on what Jenny Ainger has asked there? Are you happy with Paulie?
I'm a big Paulie fan, so I'm good. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I know that, yeah. You're a
We're
fan
only playing George and
the expression used to be Superman wears Paul O'Connell jocks, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Paul
that's it.
O'Connell underpants.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Mike Reedy. Now we're way over time, lads, so we're just going to go for a win, lose, or draw. The upcoming games. Mike Reedy, I'm coming to you first because you had the last voice on last week's show. So
okay,
you're first on this. Right. Okay. We have Ulster are entertaining the Stormers.
Ooh. I saw the Stormers line, and Ulster have picked a really as strong a lineup probably as they can. I think also the Stormers haven't travelled well at all, and haven't actually competed well in this URC. I really hope Ulster can turn them over. I genuinely do.
Okay.
It's a tight game, but I'll go with an Ulster win.
Okay, and Jenny Ainger will be very interested in your next prediction, Mike. Connacht are entertaining Munster in a historic meeting in MacHale Park. Go ahead, Mike. Who do you think is going to win that? Connacht versus Munster.
It's going to be it's a big ask for Munster. That being said, they have all their players back apparently, even including John Klein and props. They have the whole shebang back. So I'm going to go with a Munster. Just a very minute Ulster or Munster win.
Munster are going to beat Connacht in MacHale Park.
Okay. Yes, that's me.
Right. Okay. Mike Sheedy is agreeing with you there, Mike. Okay. Next up, we have Sharks are entertaining Leinster. Leinster's second game down in South Africa. Sharks beat Leinster.
It's a tough game for Leinster again, but Leinster have taken a very strong squad down there this time, and they probably should have won at the weekend. They kind of let it slip. However, it's a tough game. I'd say it's a point or two in that game again. I think I'm going to go with Leinster. They have to prevail in South Africa at some stage. I could not pick a South African team to beat anybody.
Okay, and last, of course, Mike, we have the Irish women are playing Italy.
Oh, Ireland are winning that. Absolutely no doubt for me in that.
All right, calm down with
even though they've lost the last two. Even though they've lost the last two games against Italy, they're winning this one. They should have beaten France.
I was at the one last year. I remember. I was at the one last year.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Okay, that's it. Okay, Dara West.
Yes.
Ulster entertaining the Stormers.
No, my brain won't let me say it. I can't say. I can't predict a South African win. I have to go for Ulster.
Okay. Connacht entertaining Munster, as I said to Mike Reedy in.
So not having played GA, where is MacHale Park?
It's in Castlebar. Mayo. So I don't know.
Oh, no, Castlebar. You're right, Castlebar.
We always know Mayo never win anything, so Munster will do it. Just on the basis of all this Mayo for Sam shite, I'd say. Well, I'm contractually obliged to say Munster anyway. So
the Kerry men are going to Mayo.
Is it near the fields of Athenry then?
I don't know where it is. The west of Ireland.
Homecoming for Munster.
That neck of the woods, I've been there several times.
Yeah.
It's a
beautiful
part of the.
I was at a great festival in Castlebar.
It's a beautiful part of the country. Gregor Galway, Gregor, I see your comments there. Kieran Ryan, head to Castlebar to see a Munster win. Catherine Keegan there, Dara is telling you it's in Castlebar, as I just said. All right, okay. Yeah. Okay, Dara, Sharks entertaining Leinster. This is I'm not confident as a Leinster supporter. Maybe I'm iffy about this.
I think that's the best playing.
We were close in the last game.
I
know Keane's gone down. Not really any others have gone down because I suspect they're being kept for the Harlequins game. The international lads are being kept on rest for that. I have to say a Leinster win, but I think it'll be squeaky bum. It'll be, it could just be like a kick in it.
Yeah. Okay.
Having said that, now I think we'll get one or two tries, so there'll be a bit of a score in it.
Okay, and lastly, Dara, the Irish women.
Playing
Italy.
I'll have to go for the Irish women.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Mike, and thanks, Dara. Okay, Peter Martin, last voice on tonight's show. Win, lose, or draw. Let's go. Ulster entertaining Stormers.
Yeah, Ulster to win.
All right. That was fairly confident. That was fairly confident there, Pete.
Two Stew and James Hume back
Lowry and Balakoon and
in midfield.
McCluskey. Yeah, McCluskey's back.
Balakoon's back in the wing as well.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Pete. Connacht entertaining Munster in Castlebar, MacHale Park. Who's winning that?
That's going to be. I think that could be potentially a game of the weekend because you just haven't a fucking clue what's going to happen there. To be honest with you, I'm just going to be totally. I'm just going to sit park my arse on the fence and say a draw.
All right. Okay. Fair enough.
Bag.
Sharks entertaining Leinster.
Leinster. They'll learn from last week because that was absolutely nuts what happened at the end. And besides, they're not at altitude, so
yeah, they're back down in the usual.
You know, as much as altitude, it matters. Not playing at altitude, it matters as well.
Yeah. True. Well, true. Okay.
Yeah.
And Pete, finally, these are all in order of their happening. I'm not leaving the ladies to last on purpose.
Yeah.
This is the time frame that they're happening.
Yeah, Sunday.
Pete, Italy are playing. Italy are playing Ireland in the women's Six Nations. Who's winning that?
I have to back the girls in green. Aoife Wafer to have a stormer and inspire.
I'll tell you, she is some woman on the pitch.
Amazing.
She's just, you know. Yeah, do you know actually? Someone referred or compared her to other players. She looks like Josh Van der Fleer to me on the pitch.
She fucking played
with the red head thing on, and it's going.
She probably carries better than him. If that's possible.
Excuse me. We're not going down there. Mike,
saucer milk for the man in Glasgow.
Right.
I'm talking.
There we go. We haven't broken our record, gentlemen. We're only 12 minutes over time. So
and plenty of time to start talking about Finn Russell and get you to say the F word multiple occasions and break another record, P. Yeah.
Do we think that there's any chance Owen might get called into the Lions squad? Realistically,
no.
Who?
Owen Farrell.
Not the
whole.
whole.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a
strong possibility.
Will Greenwood toured before he was even picked for England, so technically,
Owen Farrell is eligible for the Lions team.
Yeah.
Right? Let me just leave that with you. Owen Farrell is definitive. He is eligible for the Lions selection. All right.
However, he won't be picked, even by his dad.
You never know. Anyway, just shut up. Right. Okay. Now, my thanks to all of you.
Breaks a fingernail or something.
Finn was to go down. He might get called in if Finn goes down.
Yeah, they need an alternative.
Yeah.
Can I just sign off, please, gents? Is any chance I could just sign off? Because
you were just complaining we were finishing early.
Yeah.
We're not finishing early. We're 13 minutes. Excuse me. We're 13 minutes over fucking time.
Are you getting tired, Peter? Are you getting weary?
No. I want to go for a piss
now, lads. He's sulking. Ladies and gents, this is Peter.
I want to go to the loo. Just shut up.
The ties are out of pram now. The ties are out of pram.
Get one of those stadium buddies.
Yeah, the one you take to the press box.
Yeah, brilliant. Very good. Okay, shut up. Right, okay. My thanks, our thanks, because it's very much it's us talking to you. To everyone who commented, had an opinion, texted, typed, who watched. Thank you to all of you. My thanks to looking at it here. We have Mike Reedy. Thank you, Dara Weston. Thank you, and Peter Martin. Thank you, folks. We will be back next week, where hopefully all going well in the planning. It is looking like it's going to be. Mike Ross will be joining us this time next week. Mike, Jesus, would you just shut up and let me have my moment? Right? Let me have my moment. Mike Ross will be joining us. Well, just shut up. Jesus Christ, Mike.
The man's going in to have major surgery on his hip, and you won't let him say that you're substituting one mic for another mic. Bad form. That's just callous.
Any wonder Finn Russell, any wonder you get Finn Russell signed boxer shorts or whatever he wears.
Go on, Mike. Go on.
It's okay, lads. I'm just happy.
We can talk all night. You're the one time for a piss. I can talk.
I'm going. All right, go on.
You
Go on.
the
Good
one
luck.
with
Good
weed
luck.
running down your leg.
Enjoy the rest of Jesus Christ, but just enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm sure we get loads of comments about this. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm hitting the end stream now. Go on.
And Mike,
All
look
right.
forward to having
Good
you
luck.
back on the show in a couple of weeks. Bye on.